Hello and welcome to God's Good Word. We're so glad that you're tuned in and watching one of our videos. Just want to remind everyone that we welcome any comments that you might have. We'll be happy to enter any kind of discussion with you that you'd like, or at least just read any comments that you may have for us. The title for the message tonight is Here's Your Sign. Now I know that that's kind of a throwback there to the mid-90s. Bill Engvall, with one of his comedy shows, kind of made that a pretty popular saying there for about a decade. But what's amazing to me is that so many people actually want to see a sign or some kind of miracle before they know that they're making the right decision by trusting Jesus Christ. Today I'm going to talk about a story. It's about a rich man in Luke chapter 16. He wanted a sign sent from Abraham to his family so that they would not burn in hell. But before we get to that scripture, I want to do another throwback to the movie Rudy. You may remember that movie in the early 90s. It's an inspirational story about the early years of Daniel Rudiger. His dream, his passion was Notre Dame football. He himself was a pretty below average athlete as far as his size and strength, but he had something. He had that desire, he had that dream, he had something inside of him that made him perform to a much better level than someone with his natural ability or talent would be able to. And he used that to chase his dream down. Anyhow, very inspirational story. I recommend you watch that movie if you've never seen it. There's a particular scene in that movie where Rudy is sitting and visiting with Father Kavanaugh, and Rudy's just asking him frankly, Father, what else do I need to do? What can I do to get this prayer answered? Or is it just not possible? It's not going to happen for me. And Father Kavanaugh says something pretty profound at that time. He says, son, in 35 years of religious studies, I've come up with only two hard and certain facts. One, there is a God. And two, I'm not him. Now, Rudy was looking for a sign. He wanted a sign where God would say, yes, Rudy, you've done enough and I'm going to answer your prayer. Or no, Rudy, you've not done enough and this is what else you need to do for this to happen. Now back to Luke chapter 16. The rich man lives in a fine, luxurious home, wears fine purple clothing, has food, plenty of food, and Lazarus, the poor sickly beggar who sits at his front gate, not to be confused with Lazarus, who is Jesus' friend, whom he also raises from the dead. But no, this Lazarus is a poor, sickly beggar. All he's hoping for is that a scrap of food would just fall from the rich man's table so he could have a small bite to eat. But Jesus says the only thing he ever gets are dogs coming to lick his wounds. Now the rich man and the beggar, they both die. Angels come and carry the beggar off to be with Abraham, and the rich man goes to Hades. The rich man can see across the chasm. He can see that Lazarus is in the bosom of Abraham. The rich man isn't in hell because he was rich. The rich man was in hell because he never showed any kindness or mercy to Lazarus. He never showed him, he didn't even acknowledge his existence. This is basically the meat of the message right here, because now the rich man who ignored Lazarus in real life, now in eternity and afterlife, he is begging for mercy from Lazarus. He says, Father Abraham, Can Lazarus dip his finger in water and just touch my tongue with that water? I'm in anguish because of the flames. Abraham says to the rich man, no, that cannot happen. There's a great chasm. We cannot cross it to come to you. No one there can cross it to come to us. The rich man asked for something else, the sign. He says, Abraham, can you at least send Lazarus to my father's house so that my 5 brothers might believe and not come down here with me? Father Abraham tells the rich man, you know what? Your family has Moses, the words of Moses. Your family has the teachings of the prophets. And if they're not going to believe, then it won't matter if they see someone who is risen from the dead. Well, I'm going to say that I do believe for some people that God might allow a sign or some miraculous event. I believe that. I believe God is still in the business of doing that. However, I also believe that Jesus taught and preached faith and trust for a reason. How many times in the scriptures can we read where Jesus says, his words written in red, your faith has made you whole. Your faith has saved you. Jesus actually says that quite often. The final point of today's message is basically, here is your sign. If you're not able to look around the world today, right now, here in May, the end of May 2020, and see that in our world right now are actually the things written in the Holy Bible that are taking place right now, then it doesn't matter if Jesus himself were to walk up and start talking to you. Listen to the people who are trying to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ. Here's your sign.